I think all of us, at one time or another, have had the chance to be involved with a little child care. Parents, oh yeah, all the time. But grandparents, maybe there are times when the grandkids are with you for a little while, maybe for an overnight. Aunts and uncles get that duty from time to time, and well, everybody knows the teenagers every now and then do babysitting. So I think a lot of us have some experience with this, and I often hear from, say, some of the young parents I know, they talk about how sometimes getting the kids to bed can be, well, take more than a few minutes. You know, it might take a little while because somebody kind of keeps getting out of bed and walks out to the living room and says hello or see what's going on in the kitchen. All those things kind of happen. Well, parents tell me that little ones have a lot of energy, and sometimes that energy just needs to be expended, kind of going in. And every night at bedtime, it might take a little time just to calm someone and make them ready. Well, one young mom was telling me a story about how sometimes she'll sit on the corner of the bed or she'll lay down with her daughter and son for a little while. And it's like as they kind of slowly kind of quiet down, it's like just her daughter in particular kind of reaches over, just kisses her on the cheek, and next thing you know, she's asleep. The little girl's asleep. And no matter how busy that young mom's day is, she finds there's some peace in the midst of that moment. All that tossing and turning on the bed, all that fooling around with the blankets, all that stuff, that all kind of gives way to, say, just a little stroke of the hand, kiss on the cheek, and someone's asleep. Our psalm today, God is described using words like gracious, merciful, slow to anger, kind, good, compassionate. A picture is painted here of a God who is very much like that loving parent, who is tender and benevolent, who loves extravagantly and loves without ever losing patience. You know, that young mother would tell me, I wish I could keep my patience all the time. As your neighborhood parish priest, I kind of suffer the same way too. We all have moments where we're just not quite the kind of people we want to be. We're not always our best selves. But isn't it great to know that we have a God who is that gracious and generous parent, who loves, who is compassionate, who is kind and good, who is slow to anger. After a long day, and no matter what walk of life we are, it's good to know that that kindness and generosity can restore our lives. We're reminded, whether it's the little ones or the grandchildren, or maybe it's just recounting the day with the Lord in prayer, that you've had the chance to see God's presence alive in your life as things have unfolded. It's a chance for you just to realize that no matter what you feel about the yoke you're carrying, no matter how heavy those burdens might feel, it's God's compassion that gives me rest. You see, it's like God whispers in the darkness surrounding our bed, maybe when you're talking to the grandkids, maybe when you're talking with your spouse in those first moments before sleep. There's always tenderness. I am meek and humble of heart. My friend, rest for yourselves, no matter how chaotic the day, no matter how rumpled the bed. So often, when we pray, in our spiritual imaginations or work, sometimes it's easy to fall back into like a default mode where God is demanding or judgmental or harsh. We need to be reminded from time to time about the God who is kind, generous, slow to anger. This is the God who's there to lift our heavy burdens. Our readings today, they tell us about, say, the character that God is in our lives. And we have to remember in our prayer, in our life, to look for that God who is gracious and merciful. A God who is not demanding perfection, but a God who walks with us. A God who is slow to anger and has limitless patience. We need to come to know this in our heads and in our hearts, to be reminded that God is always present and that God is there to guide us. And how can we live out what it means to be guided by God? A few days ago, I was noticing something, an old prayer I'd come across from Teresa of Avila, St. Teresa of Avila. And she had written that Christ has no body but yours. no hands, no feet on earth, but yours. Yours are the eyes with which Christ looks with compassion on this world. I used to think that sometimes Teresa of Avila is kind of giving us marching orders. Here's what we can do. Have we thought instead, it's not so much what we're called to do, but how we're called to be and who we are called to become. Because if it is true that we are the hands and feet of Jesus, it's also true that the people we encounter, they are hands and feet to us. They serve us as well. When they hug you, when they cook for you, when they send you a card on your birthday or pick up the phone and talk to you, when they lean over at night and they kiss you goodnight. Can you picture that God's tenderness is in the midst of all those simple acts of love, helping you believe all over again that God's promises are real for you? It's a tender reminder from God that the burden is light.